Hello everyone, welcome to another Tavern Master update video. In this video we're going to be going over the new update 1.05. This comes shortly after my previous video on update 1.04. That one was a little bit late according to when the updates came out. They came out about 2 weeks apart. In that video I did talk about some of the things that we'll be going over in this, but not in as much detail because they weren't out yet. So let's get started. First off, I want to mention the developer did talk about how they are still working on disasters. That was supposed to be included in this update, but the AI took more work than they had planned, so that will be included in the next update instead. So for the first feature, the bartender now checks drink orders more often. They will now go fill a drink and then check again to see if there is any other drink orders, so they can now fill multiple different kinds of drinks at the same time instead of only filling the water and then bringing it over and filling the beer and bringing it over. Now they can fill a water, a beer, a lemonade, a wine, any combination of 4 drinks and carry them at the same time to the counter, which will make it more efficient for them. Next is the waitress now has better pathfinding, so open areas like this one here right by the door will result in it being easier for them to walk through, and they'll be walking at full speed. My tavern will have to be completely redesigned because areas that are crammed in like this, that are tighter spaces between tables and benches, they can still walk through, but they walk through at a slower speed, as shown in this screenshot here. Another improvement to the waitresses is they now focus on one area at a time. So instead of serving one drink over here by the door and then serving one drink all the way over here in the corner of the tavern, they will now focus on one area. So that means they'll focus on a couple tables over here, and then when they're done with that, maybe they'll move to a couple tables over here and then a couple over here, all in the same area. The waitresses can also clean different tables at the same time. They can clean multiple tables. Before they would just clean one, and then when that table was clean, they would drop off the dishes and then clean another table. It just results in a lot less walking and makes it faster for them. For another waitress improvement, there's now 4 slots at the bar instead of 3, so you can see this blue circle here represents the waitress slots. There is also 4 slots at the kitchen counter, so right here is my kitchen counter. You can see the other 2 waitresses right here. There's now 2 more spots, which will improve the amount of servers you have and improve the amount of customers that they're able to serve at one time. And going back to waitress slots, there's now a special option. So if you go and open your building tab right here, the chairs and the table, and go down to the special section, right under bars, you will see place for waitress. So you can now buy individual waitress slots, and then you can hire waitresses for those slots and get them to work wherever you want them to. So for these ones, for example, they will go and they will go and fill the other spots. First, I guess they're going to bars, but you can, yeah, you can move them individually. So you can move them around the tavern wherever you want them to fill up first, and you can have different waitress slots in different areas so that they efficiently serve the whole tavern. Moving on to chefs, they can now be told to prioritize certain types of food. So if you click on a chef and take a look here, desserts, main courses, and soups are the 3 categories, and they can be changed to different priorities. So for example, this chef, Godfrey, receives a 2 coin bonus for every main course served. So you could have him set to high priority on main courses, and you could set him to a medium or low priority on both desserts and soups, and he would mainly focus on main courses and just help with desserts and soups when they were running behind, which would net you a 2 coin bonus for the majority of the courses that he was serving. And regarding all employees, they can now be told to work on specific floors. So if you click on a waitress, for example, They have to serve their own floor, but they can also be told to serve other floors. And if you click on a chef here, they have to serve their own floor, but they can also be told to make dishes for the second floor as well. One thing that I forgot to mention is waitresses can now be told to prioritize or to ignore certain tasks. So, much like the priorities of the chefs, they can focus on serving drinks, cleaning, serving food, or doing room service, or they can be told to completely ignore that service all at once. So you could have some that are specifically just for drinks, some that specifically just clean, some that only serve food, and some that only do room service, or maybe room service and food, because I doubt there would be all that much room service. Another thing that has been included is customers now have better pathfinding as well. So for example, you can see this customer right here immediately heads up to my second floor and takes a seat there instead of taking a seat at the first floor. The customers will now randomly disperse between each of your floors in your tavern, up to 4 floors total, instead of just filling up the first floor. This is meant to kind of spread out the number of customers between the floors and allow your wait staff to have a more even workload instead of having fourth floor wait staff have to wait all day for customers, for example. The customers themselves also have better pathfinding now, so they, instead of going around larger areas, they can also, like the wait staff, now head between the tables and the benches to get to where they need to. In order to balance all of these new improvements for efficiency, for the drinks, for the bartender, for the waitresses and chefs all having their AI improved, the prices of some of the items have been adjusted. You can decrease it as low as 2, 3, 3, and 5 for the first 4, which is lower than they used to be. I think it used to be something like 5 before, as the lowest one, so it's a lot lower than it used to be, but this just allows for everything to be a little more balanced. But again, you can just increase the prices to whatever you need them to be once you're at the point where you have all of the guests that you can fit in, and then you can just make more money off of each guest. And to showcase some of the new features, as you can see, the bartender can now carry up to a maximum of 6 drinks instead of 4, actually. And you can see he's carrying multiple different types. He'll run over to the barrels where he's collecting them from, fill up as many as there are from that individual barrel, and then carry up to 6 of them, and then sometimes of multiple different types depending on what people are wanting. The chefs now have 4 small cauldrons instead of 1 big cauldron, which means they can make multiple different kinds of soup all at the same time instead of having to wait until the top cauldron is empty and then make individual little types of soup and then wasting all kinds. And the next feature that was talked about was indicators. So there are waitress icons, bartender icons, chef icons, researcher icons, the walkable areas, special customer icons, and the indicators for waiting time. So with all of these turned on, you can see the waitress icons above their heads as they're going around the tavern. You can see what kind of areas they're focusing on. These ones, for example, with the new area AI, they're focusing on this row of tables as opposed to going all the way over here and trying to serve their areas first. The bartender, that doesn't do all that much. It just helps you more easily see where the bartender is at any given time. They don't really leave their bars. The chefs, same thing. They don't really leave the kitchen, but you can see where each of them are and what they're doing at any given time. The walkable areas, you can now see what speed everyone can walk through. When they're going between different tables and different areas. So for example, going between a tight space between this table and this candelabra, this stand of candles, They walk at a bit of a slower speed than they would between this more clear row of benches, which is more open for them, and you can noticeably see them speed up or slow down depending on which area they're walking through. The next indicator that was included was the special customer indicator. So any customers that are different rarities besides the base one will now have indicators over their heads. So the yellow and orange customers, for example, they now have little person icons over their heads showing what type of customers you're serving, which is very useful for your different objectives. Um, Such as serving different types of customers. This one is just serve any type of customers, but sometimes there are some that say you have to serve certain types of customers. There's also now an indicator for waiting time over each customer's head. So if they wait too long, they will walk out of your tavern. So it allows you to see if there's any areas that aren't being served as well. For example, this guy is waiting a long time to be served. If he were to walk out, perhaps if you had space, you would want to add a waitress spot right here and allow that area to be served a little bit better. And finally, there's now an option to delete save files from the game. So if you go into load, you can now see that there's a little X next to each type of save file, and that you can delete those individually if there was a tavern that you didn't like, or if there was a mistake that you made and you didn't want that to be saved, you can delete those. There is also now the option to re-roll staff when you're wanting to hire them. So if you go into staff and you scroll down until you can see a plus, you can now have the 4 options. If you don't like them, you can press refresh and you get 4 completely new options, and you can keep refreshing until you get different staff that have the skills that you want and can fill the different needs. And as a couple of added bonuses, there is now a lantern to celebrate the Lunar New Year. So it has kind of a paper lantern look to it with a little tassel hanging down. And you can even see the candle in the middle that provides the light if you look at it from the right angle. The developer also shared this screenshot, which showed the different things that are going to be added, which appears to be different storages or possibly new mechanics. They've also, in the same area of the announcement, shown what looks like the knife throwing boards, which will be part of the tavern events that are going to be added in the future to make the taverns more lively. Right now, patrons just come in and sit down, order their drinks and food, and leave. Later on, they're meant to be doing things that you would see in a tavern more often, like knife throwing, playing games, things like that. So it'll hopefully add to the atmosphere. That's all for this update video. I hope you enjoyed seeing me go through all of the different changes. I hope it was helpful and saved you some time. And I will be covering future updates, so if you want to see those, please subscribe, and I will be sure to cover those as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.